Pottery, forges, and mills? What a strange combination. Today's video will take a closer look at the Old Mill Pottery House Cafe and Grill in the Old Mill district of Pigeon Forge, and talk about this popular restaurant. Welcome to Bear Facts, where we explore the Smoky Mountains one bear fact at a time. If you've done your research much into the Smoky Mountains, there's a good chance you would come across the Old Mill. Though it might seem like a tourist trap to some, to others who know about the past and understand its significance, the Old Mill District is certainly a place of interest and curiosity. In fact, I would be shocked if it didn't cross your browser or pop up in your forum searches. The Old Mill is considered the foundation of the Smoky Mountains, what historians might even consider the beginning of Pigeon Forge. There are even those who consider the Old Mill to be a symbol of country, community, and family, proof of what hard work and resilience can look like. If anything, it's the hallmark of the early settlers' way of life and a remnant of the past. Everything in the Old Mill is interdependent and all parts of the same district and owned by the same families. When you look at a map of the Old Mill district, you'll see several businesses, from a functioning forge to an active mill. There are several stores and even an ice cream shop. Then you notice that there's also two full-size sit-down restaurants across from one another. One is the very well-known Old Mill, which many people are familiar with, but what about the other one? The Old Mill Pottery House. So how does the Pottery House fit in with the rest of this historic area? What do we know about them, and how do you decide which one to go to? Also, why would these families put two competing restaurants side by side? Today's video will look more closely at the Pottery House and give you a better look at this sometimes overlooked and underappreciated restaurant. Keep this in mind though, that this video is more about the Pottery House. I still won't discount the Old Mill as a possible place to go, and I will be throwing out comparisons later in the video between the two, but I won't go into much detail about the Old Mill. If you'd like to know more about the Old Mill restaurant, I have a video link in the description to give more information about this other extremely popular restaurant. The Pottery House Cafe and Grill was established in 2003 after the founding member of the actual Pottery House passed away, Douglas Ferguson. The Pottery House is aptly named, as it was Ferguson's actual house and where the potter used to live. Ferguson was one of many of the early Pigeon Forge residents who made a home and livelihood in the area, helping make the Old Mill District what it is today. When Ferguson first arrived in Pigeon Forge, he soon learned that the clay found in the area was perfect for pottery, and he made the Old Mill District his home and business by the 1940s. Even today, you can see remnants of the past through the wares and products that can be purchased by eager tourists in the district. Adjacent to the Pottery House Bar and Grill is an active pottery studio, Pigeon River Studio, where you can purchase handmade pottery, crafts, and other items made in the studio. Like the mill and the forge, all the items you find are handmade by skilled craftsmen, and you can watch as they work. There are live demonstrations daily for all three businesses, where you can see the mill at work, the forge burning, and the pottery wheel spinning. Each produces products that you can purchase and take home. One of the reasons I've even brought up the history is because of the charm of the place. Knowing the history behind a place can make a fuller experience. At least it does for me. But also, when you realize the connection between the different businesses, you can also learn about the food itself and the culture in the area. But if you're watching this video, you probably aren't as interested in the history as you are the actual food that you can get at the Pottery House. So let's move on from the brief history to the restaurant itself. One really neat fact is that the bread made at the Old Mill and Pottery House are all made in-house. But even more interesting is that all the breads and desserts that they serve are made from the flour milled at the Old Mill across the street. Yep, that old building and large restaurant are part of a still functioning grist mill. In fact, you can even purchase flour yourself in their gift shop while taking a peek at the mill's back room. To get to the Pottery House, you'll want to head down the parkway. The restaurant is in the Old Mill District, which is right off the parkway as you enter Pigeon Forge. The parking is free in the area, and since it's right next to the bus terminal in Pigeon Forge, you can also take public shuttle service, either from Gatlinburg or any of the trolley stops in the Pigeon Forge and Sevier area. There are parking lots closer to the Pottery House, either behind the old mill or in front of the Pottery House across the street. There's also some limited parking around the Pottery House itself. When you enter the Pottery House Cafe property, the first thing you'll notice is the beautiful landscaping. I always think of a secret garden when I walk their grounds, from the colorful bouquet of flowers, secret nooks, and water fountains, to the graceful koi swimming under the waterfall. It's a very tranquil feel. There is outside seating, so if you want to sit outside and enjoy the warm summer evening or fall, or winter, they have heaters as well, you can enjoy the lovely outside ambiance instead of being stuck inside. The bulk of the seating for the restaurant is inside. When you reach the hostess station, you will be ushered into one of the two main seating areas, unless you ask for outside seating. I'm going to call the first area the main hall, as there's a giant fireplace that takes up the wall to your right. The other room, let's call it the receiving room, is a little smaller, but this space is well lit by large windows to give the room a wide open feel and is well lit. In fact, the whole restaurant is full of natural lighting as there are many windows around you as you dine. The Pottery House is open for brunch on Saturdays and Sundays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and Saturday to Sunday, their wording not mine, 11 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. I was a little surprised that they had such late hours. I assumed it was more of a breakfast and lunch place at first, but they're firmly in the lunch and dinner category. I think it's the cafe part of their name that gave me that impression. The Pottery House, like all the businesses in the Old Mill districts, gets very busy, and you'll most likely have to wait for a seat. What I like about them is that the grounds are so lovely. You have plenty to do as you wait for them to text your phone when your seat is ready. And yes, they have phone text service when you are put on the waiting list. But you can also explore the other shops and businesses as you wait as well. So there's no shortage of things to do when you need to wait for your table. I would make sure to stop at the actual pottery studio next to the Pottery House and check out their products. The pricing is fairly reasonable for a tourist destination, and you might find a set of Bear pottery salt and pepper shakers. These are replicas of the ones you can find in both restaurants. The Pottery Barn has quite a menu, but here's where they differ from their sister restaurant across the street. Where the Old Mill focuses on home-style foods, the Pottery Barn is going to offer healthier and more light fares. Don't get me wrong, the breads and food here have just as many calories as a turkey meal at the Old Mill, but they have more healthy choices or meals that won't leave you planning your next diet. There are a lot of salad choices, soups, and sandwiches to choose from. They also have heartier dishes such as fried chicken and hamburgers. You can also find seafood dishes, all of which are grilled and lightly seasoned. Their most popular item is the quiche plate. If you're not familiar what a quiche is, the best way to describe it is like an egg pie. Okay, that doesn't make it sound as delicious as it is, but with the eggs mixed and cooked to fluffy perfection, baked over a crumbly crust, and stuffed with different kinds of fillings, it might start sounding a little better. They give you a generous portion of quiche with your soup or other sides. On the day we went, I chose one of the quiche plates, of course, which included a soup. The soup of the day was potato and cheese soup, and the quiche of the day was a quiche with ham and cheese stuffed inside. Yum! The meal also came with some fresh fruits and, of course, bread. On the side, they gave me a slice of fresh raisin bread with my meal. My husband tried the chicken strips with French fries. The entire meal was very filling. I like that I had such a variety of different things to choose from on the menu. Our server was a very cheerful young lady who was very helpful and energetic. I don't have a negative thing to say about either the meal or service or experience. Not that everyone has had the same experience. There are some reviewers that have not such a good experience, and definitely some people who would prefer the old mill over the Pottery Barn. But overall reviews online are very favorable for this place. Our server was a cheerful young lady who was very helpful and energetic. I don't have a negative thing to say about either the meal or service or experience. If you look online at other reviewers, the average reviewer has been happy with their meal and service as well. I thought the place looked clean and well run. I'm certain that you can find some guests who didn't have the same positive things to say, but that goes with any business in the service industry. The other thing you might notice is that many people still prefer the Old Mill restaurant across the street. In the front of the restaurant, you can purchase a loaf of their bread or desserts. Even if you don't have time to stop and eat here, you can grab something for later. Now, some will ask, which do I pick, Old Mill or Pottery House? My first answer would be both, but not everyone can hit both places, so let's compare them and let you decide. The Pottery House dining area has a much more open concept, more roomy feel. If you visit the Old Mill, the style is more broken up, layered flooring, and lots more stairs. I felt that the Old Mill is more congested and the tables are a little bit more tightly packed. That's how I felt when I was there anyway. But the Old Mill has more of an air of age and history. As well it should, since the mill has been there over 200 years. So yeah, the mill itself is kind of older. And the Old Mill feels like an old southern farmhouse with their decor and wooden paneling. The Pottery House has a feel like someone's house with the garden and large hearth, since that was what it had been. Not sure if that helps you feel the difference, but that's the best way to describe them. Older versus newer, but not much newer. I tried. They just feel different. The Pottery Barn has seating outside with gardens and a koi pond to look at, while the Old Mill has views of the river below if you're lucky to snag a seat next to one of the windows. I think the biggest difference is the menu. Old Mill has homemade foods that are heavier, but also something you might enjoy in an old-style diner. Pot roast, chicken livers, fried chicken, or turkey dinners. The Pottery Barn offers quiches, Reuben sandwiches, sirloins, or even grilled salmon. It's a very different vibe. The fact that they have such different kinds of menus and the decor makes them complement one another very well and gives visitors two unique options to pick from. So, it makes sense now why the families put these two together. Not only do they support one another with exchanging services and food items such as the pottery and the flour, but they can be two completely different experiences. And if this still didn't help you make up your mind which one would be a better fit for you, just try them both. The Old Mill is also open for breakfast, and the Pottery House would be a great dinner for later in the day. As always, we hope you've enjoyed our video. If you have enjoyed this video, please click that like button and subscribe to our channel. Thanks again for visiting us at Bare Facts of the Smoky Mountains.